it all. A company known for jump-starting the Hallyu wave. We will be talking about the old and the new. We will go from talking about the hits and the flops. The good, the real good, and the really, really bad. This is the history of SM Entertainment. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're back for another installment of the history of SM Entertainment. I know I've been gone a little while and there hasn't been any videos, but we're back at it and we got to go in here. And today we're going to start with Boa, and then we're going to go into TVXQ and then The Grace. Boa has so many albums, both Japanese and Korean. We're just going to go through each really quickly, and then we're going to give some little notes about everything, and we're going to go on. That way we can get through her because she has a lot. Boa My Name debuted June 15, 2004. It sold over 201,000 copies. Girls on Top, which came out June 23rd, 2005, sold 115K copies. Now, from here onwards, you can tell that another generation, you can tell that the Hallyu wave is switching. Korea is kind of transitioning their thought process, and also K-pop is starting to get very saturated at this time. Everybody's kind of hopping on the wave, so you can see Boa's sales slowly decline. Like Hurricane Venus only sold 56K copies, and downwards it just goes down from there. And then in 2005 she actually went to Japan, where she absolutely dominated. She was the first Korean artist to sell 2 albums with over 1 million copies. Valentine sold 1,249,197 copies, and it released January 29, 2003, and Love and Honesty was not far behind, releasing January 25, 2004 with 653,630,000 copies. Outgrow, which came out a day after Valentine's Day in 2006, sold 427,000 copies, and onwards it was pretty good until about The Identity, which came out in 2010, which only sold 72,000 copies, but it's pretty good. Her lowest sales is her recent one in 2018, which sold only 8,000 copies, but honestly that's still pretty good for the Japanese market. With Boa being such a powerhouse in Japan and starting so early, she also made a lot of notable friends over in Japan. One is Crystal K.
Lacey, Carol, Katrine, Atrell, Amina, Cherish, Bree, Amanda, Anna. Yeah, you know who y'all is. You know I ain't got nothing but love for y'all, and you know how we do. So check this out.
She even featured on Crystal K's single Girlfriend, and I'm gonna put a clip right here so you guys watch it. It's a really great song. Boa has also done songs with Inflow and others of the like. She has done many of opening and ending songs for anime such as Fairy Tail and ending songs such as Inuyasha.
2004 엠넷 KM 뮤직비디오 페스티벌 최우수 작품상 보아 마이 네임. 네, 축하드립니다. 보아 2002년도에도
Not to mention all the sales, she is very awarded. And I'm going to go through this as quick as I can. Boa has won 1 Golden Disc Award, 5 Japanese Gold Disc Awards, 8 Mama Awards, 2 MTV Asia Awards, 3 Seoul Music Awards, 1 Music Award, 6 Best Hit Song Festival Awards, 1 Billboard Japan Award, 5 Japan Record Awards, 1 KBS Drama Award, 3 NBC Gail Dejojun Awards, 1 SBS Entertainment Award, 6 SBS Gail Dejun Awards. And that's just all the ones she won. She has 62 nominations within her whole career. Now, her career has been astounding, but she has had a little problems in her personal life. Like in December 19th, 2020, she was found importing drugs from Japan. It was a whole hoopla, but it seemed to pass pretty quickly. But it was also around the time of her 20th anniversary, so that was something else. People also ask about her dating life since she's only had 1 relationship known to the public. The man's name is Ju Wan. He's most known for his role in The Good Doctor, but they dated for just a year. But when the news broke out that they were dating, he almost went to the army immediately after, and then they broke up, and there was no dating rumors after that. Like and she's 34 years old, and you know, in K-pop, that's usually when they start to settle down and everything like that. But I guess Boa just hasn't found the right one yet. Either way, Boa did so much for K-pop in the Western world and all of Asia, and for SM Entertainment themselves. So she was pretty much keeping SM afloat, along with a couple other acts such as DBSK. And I was going to say The Grace as well, but they didn't do too good. So much appreciated for all that she has done for the whole community as a whole. And with that, we appreciate Boa. We hope, she continues to make more music. Better was excellent. I'm going to put a clip here just because I love the song. Rest in peace to her brother. He did pass away. It's been a rough year for her, but I hope she can get through it. We love you, Boa. Now we're on to our next group. The next group is going to be DBSK, a group that has changed contracts, the way K-pop is viewed, and show what it really meant to stan. We'll get to it right after this commercial break.
문자가 들리기 시작했다. 말하는 휴대폰. So cool. 큐리타.
사랑해.
동방신기 얼마큼 사랑해요? 사랑하는 만큼 드세요.
TVXQ DBSK. Now, for a lot of people who know me or follow me, you know this is the group that actually got me into K-pop. So I'm gonna have fun doing this next part. So let's talk about the members first, and then we'll get into the name and everything else. Yoonho, also known by his stage name Yuno, is an Aquarius, and he also is the leader of the group. Him and Boa have been good friends for a very long time. He even speaks about their friendship on the TV show I Live Alone. He's also known for a lot of his philanthropy, and he still releases music under SM. He still is a duo with Max, aka Shim Changmin, but he does do his own solo works. He did get in trouble recently for going out to a bar during Korea's highest level. Not to mention, during my research, I realized it was an illegal escort bar. He started losing all of his brand endorsements, and just in general, the sponsors have just tried to distance themselves from him. SM later put out a statement on September 2nd of this year saying that that was his first time at the bar, and he only went to the bar because he was invited by a friend. He would rightfully pay the fines, but he did nothing of any criminal intent. Yoonho himself then went out and put his own statement out, asking for forgiveness and saying that he would think about it and he would never do it again. Mind you, not even like 3 weeks after the statement, his children book came out and people were not very happy with it, especially because it was right after what happened with the COVID violation. But even during his, the prime of his idol years, he's also been through a lot. He was poisoned by an anti-fan. They put super glue in his drink. He had to be sent off to the hospital. They did find the culprit. They found the girl who did it, but Yoonho requested they didn't press any charges, but they kind of wish they did.
ユンホさんが事件に巻き込まれたのは先月14日、ファンを装った女性に接着剤入りのジュースを飲まされて入院。その後女性は警察に出頭、逮捕されています。心配されたユンホさんですが、昨日のライブで完全復活。心機一転、意気込みを語りました。
新しい意気込みです、はい、ファンの皆さんと一緒にいい思い出を作りたいので、皆さんよろしくお願いします。
Max Changmin, also known by his real name Shim Changmin, is the second member. He is the other current member of TVXQ as of right now. Some fun facts: his IQ is 155. He has 2 degrees, 2 regular university degrees, and a master's degree. And also, he was in a scandal with Minho from SHINee when he had long hair. They thought he was on a date, but it was Minho. He also is very adamant about doing Agyo. Like, he does not want to do Agyo ever. Jungsu will gladly do Agyo, but he's not doing no fucking Agyo. And he was the one who named their fans. Right now, he does keep to himself for the most part. He did just have a solo debut with Chocolate. It was really good. And he is now married. He got married to a non-celebrity just last year, and they seem to be doing pretty well. I haven't heard anything about them having any problems, but he doesn't really talk about his relationships to the public in general. He's a really private person, so congratulations to him. Max not only is very adamant on Agyo, he does not like Saesangs. He hates Saesangs. Specifically, he mentioned Saesangs who follow them around in taxis. He hates them. He's a very, very private person. And here's a video of him dragging a bitch out of her taxi. Next is Jae-jung, also known by his stage name Hero. He got separated from TVXQ, but we'll talk about that a little later. Just like the rest of the members, he was found to be a vocalist. They were going to make him a solo member, but they decided to put them all in a group. He is adopted. He has 8 sisters with his new family and I believe a brother.
지금 자녀님이 연예인이시라고. 네. 누구?
말해요. 괜찮아요. 괜찮아요. 동방신기 영재중 엄마입니다. 반갑습니다. 재승이 엄마입니다.
He is a high school dropout because of it, and he wanted to become an idol so bad. He worked jobs, shitty jobs, to try to make ends meet and to pay for his rent because, he didn't have any parents. But he's doing much better. He's known for his philanthropy also. All of TVXQ is known for being very generous. But he did get into his fair share of trouble. Back in 2006, he got a DUI and he had to get picked up by Yoonho. And just recently in 2020, he had a scandal where he made this long post on Instagram telling everyone he had COVID. Everybody was so sad and concerned because he's kind of like Korea's boy. Like they love him. Everybody's really sad about it. And then not long after, he put out a statement saying he didn't have COVID. He posted it to say, you know, to bring awareness to COVID and show that it was a very serious thing. Naturally, that caused backlash. He didn't post for a while, but he seems to be back doing his regular things. People are still kind of pissed off about that. But he's still trying to, you know, do music. Not music as much. He really wants to break into acting more, but people still see him as more of a singer rather than an actor. But I digress.
케이트 윈슬렛이 살아남기 위해
The next member is Mickey, aka Yoo Chun. So he is Korean, but when he was in 6th grade, he did move to Virginia, and he lived there for quite some time, but they didn't want to keep going back and forth, him and his parents, so they ended their dual citizenship, and naturally they moved to Korea. His brother is an actor, so he does that, but Yoo Chun Mickey's gotten himself into a lot of mess. First off, trigger warning for mentions of sexual assault. I will let you leave right now. I'll give you a second. All right, so in 2016, he was accused of sexual assaulting 4 different women. Now, 2 of the charges were dropped due to finding out those were falsified because on the dates, the 2 girls said that he assaulted them. He was actually in China, so that was thrown out, and he sued back for defamation and blackmail, and he won. But another case of him in 2017 assaulting a girl, she actually pretty much won the case. He tried to get it dismissed because he said it was the bathroom they were in was too small for him to have did anything. But the court threw it out and he had to pay fines for the girl. He actually didn't pay the girl right off the bat, so he had to pay more money and he had to go to trial, which he then paid back everything in full. After that, he ended up getting caught with 1.5 grams of meth in 2019, which was right after his fiance separated from him. And he got arrested, and to this day, he dealing with that. So that's what's going on with him. And then last but not least is Junsu, also known by his stage name Ja. Excuse me if the pronunciation is absolute garbage. I've been trying to get better at this. But Junsu is also a singer. He is known for his very powerful style of singing. And he does musicals, which is great, so he can really project that voice.
어디서 꿈들 끝났어 그녀는 이미 날고 보내줄 때 떠나 너 따윈 날 대적하지 못해 존재 끝에서 이미 나의 것 이제 시작이다 절대로 두 번 놓치지 않겠어 너의
His cousin is the former member of Momoland, Taeha. And he has been training the longest at SM Entertainment. He's also released a solo song called Incredible, which had Quincy on it, who is P. Diddy's son. And I'll put a little video of it here. Junsu, for the most part, sticks to himself. He did have dating rumors, which were true with Hani. They dated for a little less than a year, I believe. Well, they were revealed to be dating within less than a year, but they might have been dating longer than that. And there were rumors that him and Taeyeon from Girls' Generation were in a relationship, but none of it was ever confirmed. He's mainly known for his agyo and his singing. That's pretty much what he's up. Now, on to the full group. Let's give you a little background information. Like I said before, K-pop was plummeting like shit during this time because it was just completely oversaturated and the talent wasn't exactly there for a lot of the groups. The singing was not as impeccable as they would like it to be. So people just simply lost interest and they just went on to other genres of music. Not to mention, Boa almost in Fly to the Sky are almost single-handedly keeping SM afloat right now, because in 2003, Shinhwa left. So he kind of did like an emergency, we need something right now. He brought 5 of his best men. All 5 members of TVXQ were actually supposed to be either the main vocalists of individual groups that weren't debuted yet, or they were going to be soloists. But Lee Soo-man said, fuck it. Put them all in a group. They're just going to be powerhouse dancers and singers. And that they were. A couple of them had little side projects within SM during their training years. Like Yoonho had a little duo moment with Donna from The Grace. Well, she wasn't in The Grace yet, but that was her pre-debut stuff as well. But he was a rapper in that video, and I'll put it here.
My love for you, but no, my love will never die. I wanna love you, baby, give it another better chance to make you feel. Cause I feel that I wanna be sympathetic. 언제까지 너만을 사랑해. 시간은 그때까지 영원히 나와 함께 있어줘. Take it back, cause it's you.
나에게 돌아와.
But he got them all together and he said, you are going to be TVXQ. Now, you might be asking, what the fuck does TVXQ stand for? Now, it's TVXQ/DBSK. It stands for Dongbang Shinki and Dongfang Shinki, which is just like the Chinese abbreviation of it. And then you have Toho Shinki in Japan, but we'll get to that later. That means the rising god of the East. They wanted them to fucking conquer Asia like no other. And for a while, it looked like that was not gonna fucking happen. They had their first public appearance on Boa's special that she had with Britney Spears during Christmas. It was actually on December 26th in Korea, but that would be December 25th in America. They sung their debut title track, Hug, and Oh Holy Night. They actually did the acapella together with Boa on there to kind of garner them some attention. Any attention at this point. And then after that, they officially debuted on music shows on January 14, 2004. That single did not sell shit. It sold 5,000 copies when it first released. It was bad for them. But this was just when it dropped. When they actually saw them on award shows, they got to look at the members, their sales skyrocketed. They even got a music show win on Inkigayo. It was under a different name at that time, but it's still Inkigayo.
(2004년 3월) 마지막 주 생방송 SBS 인기가요 영의 뮤직뱅송. 동방신기의 호두가 차지했습니다. 축하합니다. 와, 첫 1위 아닌가요? 상 받으시고요. 네, 축하드려요. 네, 지금 눈물을 막 흘리고 계신데, 자, 소감 한 말씀씩 해주세요.
네, 정말 저희가 이렇게 할 줄 몰랐는데, 정말 먼저 처음에요.
Hug charted for 10 consecutive months after that. It sold 118,144 copies. And then they released their second single, The Way You Are, and that entered the MIAK at number 2, which was really good. After that, they had their first SM Town album kind of appearance on SM Town Summer Vacation. After they kind of got known to the public and they were doing pretty good, they released their first album, Triangle. It debuted at #1 and sold 242,580 copies. And they also released versions in Mandarin, and they exclusively sold one in Taiwan. With them doing so well in Korea and BoA just eating over in Japan, they said, hey, send TVXQ over there, had them release some stuff. So they released Hug in Japan in English for some reason. I don't know what possessed them to go to Japan and release a song in English, but it didn't work. It flopped like shit. Nonetheless, with TVXQ, they did not give up. They said, we are going to stick it out. We're going to make it work. So they changed their name from TVXQ DBSK in Japan to Toho Shinki. So it's something, more Japanese, maybe something more familiar. They released Stay With Me Tonight, which ended up number 37 on the Oricon charts, which was, hey, good enough for the shit they just had. And then they released Somebody to Love, their second Japanese single, and it peaked number 14 in Japan. Overall, Japan was still feeling BoA, because at this time, she's selling millions of copies. So, they have to just get acclimated to it. Either way, they said, we are going to come back. We're going to keep trying, don't you worry. But we're going to let BoA handle this shit over here. And they went back to Korea to release their second studio album. They released Rising Sun in 2005. And Rising Sun to this day is one of their most well-known tracks. It was the fourth best-selling album of 2004, period. It went so well that they had their first international concert because of it, and they went to Indonesia and a couple other places, and in some of the places they were the first K-pop groups ever to do concerts at these venues in these countries, and they even released a DVD. After their tour ended in 2006, they went back to Japan and gave it another go. They released Asu wa Kurukara, which was the One Piece 17th opening, which is their fourth single. That was really, really successful. So after that, they released their first debut album in Japan called Heart, Mind, and Soul, and it sold 18K, which was really great for them. And they started really picking up there. But after that, they went back to Korea, where they released their third studio album, O. It was released September 29, 2006. It was the best-selling record of 2006, and they even won a KM Music Festival Award for Best Artist of the Year and Best Group. They also won all 3 nominations at the Seoul Music Award and Golden Disc, and they also won a Japanese VMA. From this point onwards, it was up to the moon for TVXQ. They even had a feature on a Kodakumi song called Lost Angel, which would be the theme song for Resident Evil Extinction. They even won a VMA for the collaboration. And then their next Japanese single, Purple Line, debuted #1 on the Oricon charts. It was their first single to do so. And in 2008, they had a project where they released 5 singles within 6 weeks, and each had a solo, almost like Boys of the Week for All My Orbit. After they did so, they went back to Korea yet again, and then they released their fourth studio album, Neurotic. Now, SM let them have some type of control. They let them write some of the songs, produce some of the songs. They really let them put their foot in it. This album was so popular that they had to postpone the release 2 days because they had so many pre-orders. Neurotic naturally went #1, and to this day, the single is one of their most famous, and they have 9 music show wins to show for it. And they were the first K-pop group to actually perform at Tokyo Dome and to perform at Kohaku Utugassen in Japan.
신기 여러분들입니다. 네, 앞으로 좀 나와주실까요? 네, 트로피가 굉장히 무거운데. 네.
At this point, you think, you know, it can only go up. They are the greatest boy band in history right now, in K-pop history. They rule Asia. How can this go wrong? Well, it all went downhill from here. Now, as you all may know, the term slave contract. So, if you don't know, a slave contract is a 13-year contract where you have to be under complete control of your company. They control how you look, they control what you eat, they control where you sleep, and you have to pay all that back before you start to get money for anything. And then 13 years is a long time for a contract. And they also control how much you get back once you have paid back the debt. So in 2009, Jae-jung, Junsu, and Yo-chun filed a lawsuit against SM Entertainment for the slave contract. They said that they barely got paid and they were overworked like shit. Now, this is the first time there's ever been anybody to stand up for the slave contract enough to take it to court, and to court it went, and they fought for it for quite some time. They actually had to halt their Japanese kind of promotions right now, and they had to end their current tour that they were on. And y'all know me, with me being so nosy, I found the actual court document. So I'm going to show it right here. It's in Korean, so you won't be able to read, but you can at least look at the percentages, and I can kind of break it down from there. I lied. I translated it, so here you go. Anyways, the grant granted them injunctions, so they were in the group on the contract, but not on the contract. Some time passed. The SM tried to be slick and, you know, get them to fully validate their contract. They said, "We not doing that shit," and then they officially split. And also, JYJ essentially won the lawsuit, which made the Korean FTC change the rules of the contract. So contracts now, instead of 13 years, were maxed out at 7 years, which is how we have the contracts now. And again, apparently in 2017, they reduced the financial penalties for trainees who wanted to break their contract before the end date, which is great. Mind you, during this time, Changmin and Yoonho were essentially silent. They sided with SM. They told JYJ, you know, stop doing this. We just want to be 5. Stop that. Funny enough, their AVEX contract still has certain terms, so they performed together as 5 in Japan well into 2010, at least until April. And in that time, they released Share the World, which ended up being an opening from One Piece, and I'll put it right here. This is actually the song that got me into K-pop, funny enough. In Korea, the last time they were seen as 5 was on December 31st, 2009. And then shortly in 2010, they finished out their AVEX contract and they fully split. And then JYJ had a little subunit with AVEX while Max and Yoonho went on hiatus since they were kind of figuring out contractual obligations. SM essentially said, you know what, dead that shit right now. So AVEX was done and they were officially split. It was now JYJ and TVXQ, 2 separate groups. TVXQ essentially did come back as a duo. They released Keep Your Head Down, and it was a success and everybody loved them, and they're still in SM to this day. They've released Catch Me and a few other albums that I'll put here that you can look at. And as for JYJ, they went off to go on a different label, and they actually had one of their first pursuits as a new group was with Kanye West on a song called A Girl. And I don't know what the copyright is looking like for this. I'm gonna put it anyway. We'll see what happens.
I tattooed your name on my tongue, then my heart shattered. But for effort, I get an A, girl. So tonight be the VIP guest of JYJ, Malik Youssef, and Kanye West.
Living life like it's no damn rules. Tonight I'm finna hop up in that hotel pool. Grab your hand, white dress, you gon' hop in too. And get everything that being at the top includes. What's your friend's attitude? Why she so damn rude, huh? Tell her smile for a change. If a baller come around, she gon' smile for the change. I know what type, I know the life. I know you're living your life for the night, another night. As a city, what they got for us? I mean,
all 5 men are currently leading very successful careers. Well, Yuchun, he's gonna be in jail, but you know, they still are very successful, the rest of them, and to this day their legacy will never be forgotten. And they were even hosting, Changmin and Yoonho were hosting on Kingdom, and Yoonho has that children's book. Everybody check it out. And on to our next girlies, the girls who were supposed to be the counterparts to the oh so powerful DBSK, but was a little different. The Grace. We'll get to that after this commercial break.
지켜줄게요. 당신에겐 좋은 것만 드릴게요. 올리브 치킨으로 맛있게 건강하게 몸이 원하는 맛. 올리브 치킨 BBQ.
좀 그만 좀 먹어.
The Grace was another one of SM's hit groups. This was before I fully researched The Grace to look at their sales and everything. So the first member is Lena, and you might remember her from Isak and Jiyeon. She is a member of that group, and then they disbanded, and then she got put into the Grace. She's an Aquarius. She speaks Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. So she is a polyglot. And right now, as we speak, she is pregnant. Ooh. Now, next is Sunday. Sunday was a soloist. She's a Capricorn. She did a lot of solo promotions in Japan, and I looked up a couple of her videos, and they were pretty good. She did a few musical theaters and she did a couple dramas, but other than that, she stayed mostly out of the limelight ever since her contract ended with SM last year. Next, we have Donna, who debuted as a soloist in 2001. She's a Cancer, and she actually had an appearance in the HOT 3D movie Age of Peace. And now, I try to look for this movie. This movie is like impossible to find, but I have the trailer. You guys can look at the trailer.
진줄 아니야? 곧 시합이 시작돼. 아, 우리 패티 보러 왔구나. 패티, 전보다 예뻐졌다.
Age of Peace. Ticketing, Millet21.com.
A lot of people even said she was gonna be the next Boa. Not so true, but she was a queen nonetheless. Now, she got in trouble a couple years ago because she went on IG Live and people were asking her about a reunion, and she was like, we is not having no fucking reunion, y'all don't buy our fucking music, was going off. She was putting up her middle finger, and they asked her what does she do against, harassment comments, and she showed a kitchen knife and she had to put out an apology. But that's what's up with her. Donna was also criticized a lot for her weight gain. She was heavily criticized, but she later went on a diet and lost about 40 pounds. And you can see her little campaign photo here of her weight loss side by side. And then last but not least is Stephanie. Now, Stephanie is an American, and she actually was very gifted in ballet, but she decided to go to SM to be an idol. She is from San Diego, California, specifically, and she's a Libra. She was the group's main dancer. Like, she danced her ass off. That's what she did, and all of them were excellent singers. She essentially left the group in the 2010s because of a back injury, and that was kind of the end of that. Let's get into the Grace, the name. So CSJH, the Grace, is actually their name when they first started. So that stands for Chongsangjihi. And where that derives from is actually from their names. So Chanmu from Stephanie, Sangmi from Lena, Ji Song from Sunday, and Hee Yul from Donna. And they debuted on April 29, 2005 with their song Too Good and Boomerang. They actually first performed it in China, and the concept, at first it starts out pure and then it turns into sexy R&B. Their group was first advertised as a female DBSK. Like, that's literally what SM kind of went for, because this is 2005, so this is 2 years after DBSK's debut, and all across Asia they're eating them up. Did they eat up the Grace? Not so much.
Wise men say only fools.
But the Grace were very, very talented. Their singing was like no other, and because of them being considered an a cappella group and things like that, Korea was happy to have a group that could sing, because like I said, it's saturated, and a lot of the shit at this point is just camp. Like, one of the groups, what was it called? It was called LPG, Lovely Pretty Girls. And they had a song called Can Can, and I'll put it right here. So their first release, Too Good and Boomerang, it didn't do that spectacular, but they kept trekking on. They got a Japanese publisher, not publisher, but they got a Japanese company to help them out. It's called Rhythm Zone, new management for them. Rhythm Zone has Koda Kumi, 2NE1, J Soul Brothers, TVXQ as well. So they know what they're doing, Rhythm Zone. And then they released The Club. It came in a Japanese version and a Korean version. The Japanese version has the original music video with the guy featuring, who's a Japanese rapper. And then in the Korean one, they actually have the JYP artist Rain as the rapper in that one. And I'll put it here right now. You can look at it. Now, the Grays, they're not doing too great right now. They are actually flopping like shit. They're actually flopping like no other SM group I've seen before. It's actually amazing. But that did not stop them. They didn't give a fuck. So then they released Hanbyeon Dio, okay, which was their first full-length album. So the English translation is One More Time, okay? And it's their most successful song to date. Even got first place on M Countdown. And they won Best Dance Music at Mama 2007. Woo!
음악상. 네, 많은 분들이 UCC 동영상을 올려주셨는데요. 자, 그러면 수상자는 누군지 발표하겠습니다. 옥빈 씨가 해주시죠.
2007 엠넷 KM 뮤직 페스티벌 댄스 음악상 천상지휘 더 그레이스 한 번 더 오케이.
천상지휘 더 그레이스 여러분 축하합니다. 올해 치열한 경쟁을 보였던 댄스 음악상 천상지휘 더 그레이스에게 들어갔습니다. 한 번 더 오케이라는 곡. 저도 개인적으로 굉장히.
And just like every other SM artist at the time, they sent their asses off to Japan. In Japan, they went. The first track they did was not that great, so they're trying again. So they went to Japan in 2006. This is also at the same time Boa released Outgrow. Actually, a month right before Outgrow released. And Outgrow sold almost 500,000 copies. They did the whole boomerang thing and ranked 110 out of 200 songs. That was not that great. It was January 25th, 2006. And then they tried again with Juicy Love, which was a reggae track. I'll put it here. In November, they realized, you know, it's kind of not happening. So they went back to Korea and then they changed their image up a little bit. They took off the CSJH and just started going by the Grace. And at the time, they had more of a urban style of music and they switched to more of a softer, more fresh style. And they released My Everything, which is more ballads. Nobody bought the shit. Nobody bought it. Like, nobody bought it. They released their 5th Japanese single, Piranha, which did okay. And then they had a B-side with Jae-jung from DBSK. The song was Just for One Day. And honestly, they were just truly flopping like absolute shit in Japan. But you could not tell them shit. They put out their first Japanese album, Graceful You.
Yeah.
And that didn't do well either. And then they put out their 6th single, Stand Up People. Did okay-ish. They did their 7th single, Here, which was actually leaked. Well, it wasn't necessarily leaked, but the Japanese company put the song out digitally, which people got, and they just made people, you know, be able to buy it at that time since it was already out to the public. I don't think they meant it to. Like I said, nothing will literally stop the Grace or SM. So their second Japanese album, Dear, was released on January 7, 2009, was their best to date. It was number 14 on the Oricon charts, and it sold 4,734 albums, which is really, really good for them. It's really good for them. Ultimately, they had to stop promotions as for when Stephanie got a back injury in 2010, which she left the group shortly after to recover. She could barely move. It was really bad. And you know what's funny? Is a fun fact is Gyuri was almost in the Grace. She went on this show called the Shosang Plus Season 2, and she talked about how she was almost in the Grace. I just want to say, thank God that didn't happen. We love you, Cara, but that's another story. I might get into that another time. But even though they were not that great in sales and they weren't that popular, the fans they do have were really dedicated. I saw a lot of old forum posts and things like that, and they still have some diehard fans to this day. I would say they're more like an acquired taste, a cult classic. Nonetheless, we thank their contribution to SM history, and with that, we are done. Now, that is the end of part 4 of this installment. Next installment, we will be talking about Girls' Generation, Super Junior, and I think we're just going to do those two for now, since those two have a pretty big history, especially Super Junior. Like, mega huge for Super Junior, because they're still active and have comebacks to this day. And we will get into Girls' Generation and everything. Thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all to my Patreon. I'm actually going to put a little thing at the end to thank you all. You all have a wonderful day. And that was it. See you all next time.